You found us. What about this idea?
Gotta listen to this show. Why?
Because it's about the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs.
Oh, nailed it.
I didn't even look at the wall.
Nailed it.
I didn't even look at the
All
wall.
right, listen, honestly, this is a show. It's different than other shows about entrepreneurship.
It's real. It's real. Real stories.
Is it?
We tend to talk very real.
I love
And
it.
so do our guests. So come have fun with us.
She's from Poland, but she works in Rome. She's like magazine. We connected on Twitter because we have the same last name. And then she was like, they say Longawa over there, which I think sounds very exotic.
It does sound exotic. I think we should do it that way.
Longawa.
Longawa?
Don't you think that sounds great?
It does, actually.
I like it.
It's a pretty dope
Should we
way.
start?
Let's start.
Yeah,
Welcome
okay.
to the
Or
show.
did we already?
Huh?
We might have
did we
already
already?
started. We
Well,
could just do
you know, it
Joe
depends
Rogan
on
style.
Our
They
video
just
editor will be like, okay, all
cut
of
in the
that is
middle.
garbage. Let's just start where
Trash.
I don't know if it's garbage. Why does Joe start his shows like?
It's just like in the middle of a conversation, like you can just tell like starts in the middle of a conversation and he doesn't introduce people, which is really weird. Like, but I don't know. I kind of like it because, you know,
That's
whatever.
sort
If
of
you
the
want
way
to
that
know,
we
then
run
look
it.
it up.
Kind of. We
generally.
just pause to say.
We usually do say hello,
Welcome.
to What About This Idea?
Yes.
What about it?
What about
That's
this
what we
idea?
always say. What about
Great
this
name.
I have
idea?
no idea what I'm doing. So.
What about this idea?
You seem like you know what you're doing.
Oh, I mean,
In life, you do. You mean here?
no. Here this is easy.
Oh, yeah,
just
that's
like
true.
you know.
That's true. So, Rebecca,
Yeah. What's up?
Longawa.
No. Oh, wait, no.
Wait,
We have to say it.
Young.
Longawa, Longawa,
Longawa.
Yeah. So we got the story that this is your ex-husband's name.
Yeah.
So you
well,
really
it's his
don't
last
care.
name.
You don't really care that much
I got
about
married
it.
extremely young.
Like what's extremely like 13?
Yeah, he was 70.
I was 13 and a half. 13 and a
Yes.
half.
It was Alabama.
Yes.
No, I was 25 and he was like 29 when we got married. So it's pretty young.
Yeah, I think I was around 25 when I got married.
Yeah,
I was
pretty young.
24 when I got married the first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, no,
that was a bad decision. I mean,
27.
it was a great decision because I got my daughter out of it. But
Yeah.
it felt even then too young.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I just was young. So my entire career was basically built with that last name. So, you know, getting divorced,
Oh, sure.
you know, less than 10 years ago, I didn't want to be a Peterson. Too many.
Oh, there's so many Petersons.
Too many Petersons.
a
Not
lot
a
of
lot of
Petersons.
Longawas.
I get it.
So I was like, I'm just
Langua.
gonna keep that name and not have to deal with it.
I agree.
Yeah, I
think
didn't
we
even
should
think about it
practice
for a second.
I too took someone else's name.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You fucking did not.
Yes, I did.
A lady's name?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
I know.
Jesus.
Weird, huh?
What a weirdo.
Well,
What a
okay.
Are you still
weirdo.
married to her?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'm not gonna say anything. God bless her.
God bless her.
Praise you, lady
She
friend.
is the death of her lineage. She's the youngest of three daughters to a man who's an only child. She's the death of her lineage. There's a whole bunch of Thiessens in the world, which is my maiden name, right?
Okay, so you took her last name. What is it?
Divine. D-E-V-I-N-E.
Oh, duh. I already knew that. That's kind of a cool name, though.
Right. It's not like it was Longawa.
Yeah. Or Peterson.
Or Peterson. I'd have been like, fuck that. Let that name die.
That's what you'd say.
Yeah.
It's not really dead.
Yeah, sorry,
There's a lot
Dad.
of Petersons.
That's what I'm saying.
sorry,
Yeah.
Dad.
So, and Divine, there are other
and like
Divines
my,
out there.
you know,
but-
my brother, he already had a son. I have one brother, a Peterson brother, who had a son, who's Trey Peterson, and now he's got a son, Bryson Peterson. It's fine. That'll live on.
That's right.
Great.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what brings
it
you
is.
into our studio?
This is
Wait, this show.
Wait, the show.
That's right, yeah.
What about this idea?
What were you going to say?
I was going to say we switched roles this time. That
Oh, yeah.
I don't know anything about. Although I love her already, and I've only met her for 5 minutes.
I know
I
she's
love
got
you
a little
too.
something, doesn't she?
She does. She has. Can you hold hands? I feel really close to you, and I hardly know you.
You know,
but I didn't know. Usually, I do a lot more of the research, and I didn't this time. So
I love it.
I'm excited about
You
that
get to
because we get
sit
to
in my
ask.
position.
I know, right?
I like it.
Do you?
I do because it's fun. I don't actually know much about you either, but I do know this. Well, not about you, but I had to call one of my younger sisters.
Yes.
And deliver some not great news about the family stuff or whatever. But then we talked for a while, and she's like, "How's life outside of that? What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to record this show." And oh, what show? It's what about this idea? And it's with Juliet, and we have a great time doing it. And who's the guest? And I said, well, her name's Rebecca, but I didn't try and butcher your last name because I wasn't about to. And I'm like, all I know is that she's in the world of like gaming, like computer or online or whatever, like gaming.
Sure.
Well, not computer, but right? It's like
Well, they use computers sometimes.
PlayStation-y shit and whatever.
Well, most of it really depends on what game you're playing, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of PC, there's a lot of computer.
Which shows how little I know about it.
Okay,
But the point of my story was, this sister of mine, serious little sister who was in journalism, she's like, oh, that's so exciting. She got really excited about the idea that you were in gaming in some way. I thought, all right.
Okay.
Let's do this then.
Yeah, that's
Crazy
How
industry.
old is she?
40.
Oh, okay. So
Ish.
I thought maybe we
30,
would finally be
38.
drawing in that younger crowd that's been
no.
lining up to watch us.
Hey, we're going to get it out there.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah, let's go, brother.
Oh, hey there. You pulled out a little bit of the Midwest accent.
No, that was
that
sketch.
was totally, was
That
that,
sketch.
oh, a sketch?
What's up, brother?
Oh, I thought it was a professional wrestler.
Oh, well,
Isn't that,
Hulk
Hulk
Hogan used to
Hogan
do
kind of?
those, kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But Sketch, who's a pro streamer, he's had a little meteoric rise in the last year, does the What's Up, Brother? And he does the Tuesday. Special teams, special plays, special
My
plays.
social media looks different than your social
Clearly,
media.
yes.
Yours is all cats and shit, isn't it?
Mostly cats, yeah.
Cat videos.
I like cats and
I'm very
Get Ready With
Minnesotan.
Me videos of all kinds of flavors.
What are they?
Get Ready With Me videos.
Oh.
What does that mean?
It's like,
It's like, get ready with me. Like, here's my outfit I'm going to wear.
I don't have time to sit and do this video, so I would just get ready with me and then
Here's me putting my
do your
makeup on. I'm going to
you
straighten my hair.
straighten your hair,
All that stuff.
and talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. But
Yeah.
it's
Not a single one of those has come through my feed. I have no idea what that is.
Clearly.
Get ready with me.
You would have been a
Be like a dude
GRWM.
throwing a t-shirt on.
like-
fucking,
yeah, there is a couple dudes that do that.
Really?
Yeah.
And they're just
like-
getting ready to go in the
They're
morning?
just getting ready. They do a little whatever
Yeah,
you do
like
with your
get
beard.
ready
and
with
they
me
give-
to go to
they
the
do a little
Oscars
shush.
if you're a celebrity.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
it's like
no
the whole like head to toe transformation.
Yeah. And the whole time you're talking about something other than what you're doing, mostly.
Which is getting ready.
Unless it's a makeup tutorial. And
Yes.
then it's not really a get ready with me thing. It's you need to learn something because you're all doing stupid things out there, basically.
I
more you know.
admittedly know very little about the social media world. I really don't. You, on the other hand, Rebecca, know
Okay,
quite a bit
let's
about
let
it. right?
Rebecca introduce herself so we can
Okay.
get the truth.
Yeah.
Because
Of
she
Rebecca.
doesn't
is-
actually know anything
Yeah.
about you.
What about me? I
What about this idea?
started my career very young at 19 in the advertising and marketing world. Kind of rode what would be called maybe the digital wave from the late 90s to the early 2000s.
Nice.
So
.com
I
stuff?
I started at it was really cool. So I started at an agency that's no longer here called Hanley Wood. It was part of a magazine, publishing magazine.
Okay.
But the arm here in Minneapolis was really focused. They were kind of an extension, like a right arm of FedEx. So 90% of their revenue around, don't quote me on it, but was FedEx. And we did a ton of work for FedEx. I started literally the bottom of the totem pole.
Like advertising work for FedEx?
We did their annual report every year. We were very much the subject matter experts of FedEx.
Okay.
We had people on our staff that had been working on that account longer than most of the senior executives at FedEx. So they really understood the brand, the story, how to articulate that. And all of the legalities around it. But my role, I started completely entry level as traffic, which was everything at the time when I started there in 1999 was print. So a lot of running around large files that had like, you know, the big printouts of what was maybe going to be in a magazine or an ad campaign. And
The old days.
Oh my gosh, the old days. Like literally we would have these gigantic manila folders that we would like tape the sides and cut the top and put all our layouts in, and had a sticker on it that had every person's role that needed to sign off on things. I would physically bring it to people. They would review it, make marked up changes, and then I would bring it to the next person, and then I would have to articulate what all of the changes were to our designers. It was very print focused. We had some of the most phenomenal women that I've ever worked with in my entire career were senior producers
This was your
there.
entry-level position? This seems like an advanced...
So scheduling, running papers around isn't that advanced.
You had to consolidate it.
I had to ensure, they would make the changes and I would go through page after page and I would like highlight and check and make sure that every single change. And then sometimes there was like conflict where one editor wanted a change, but then somebody else wanted a different change. So it was very much like let's make a decision and get to where we're all comfortable. Mm-hmm. I loved it. And what started to happen, I remember we had this really cool meeting with our clients at FedEx where they said, we have these email addresses.
Oh, what do we do with them?
And we would love to do A/B testing. So that's like an A group and a B group, A/B testing, and do a websitelet.
Okay.
And instead of, FedEx at the time.
Is that like a little baby website?
Yeah, it's kind of like an offshoot website.
It's a little baby.
It's not
a little website. Wait.
Yeah, it's like you can't find it from FedEx.com, but it's a FedEx.com / blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
so you can like backdoor it. So like websitelets, they would call that. And the start of like the little CD-ROM, they would like cut a CD-ROM.
I love talking about this because
it was so cool.
It's less than 30 years ago. I mean, we're talking like
it's not that
20, 25 years ago, this all made sense.
Yeah.
Think of it right now.
No one
starting out in their career
so new.
has any idea what you're talking about. Like, this is why we lose the kids on this show.
Because they're like, what the hell is a CD-ROM?
So you were chiseling this in stone?
It was crazy. It was crazy. So they wanted this A/B testing, and it was specifically for so FedEx was sponsoring at the time Indy kart racing and the NFL Pro Bowl.
Live things.
Live events. So this was basically their sports marketing, experiential marketing budget that we were making these super complex mailers. It was like fold. And it was like, you could like, I don't know, it was like origami almost, and it was so.
I remember these things.
Our producers.
And it becomes a poster.
Our print producers were like so talented at figuring out like how to do the layout and working with United States Postal Service on how you get those mailers out and working with different printers and doing the print checks on color quality and image quality and all the crazy things. I was just running around, making sure that everybody was happy.
Taping the folders together and shit.
But the craziest thing happened because they wanted to do this A/B testing. They wanted to test out this digital solution. And we had about 2 years where we were dividing the people up. And it was if you ship this much, because here's the really interesting thing, and I actually really geeked out on this when I was just like 19 and 20 years old. But the interesting thing was the whole purpose was to incite decision makers who really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to them, it's not their money, if they're going to ship it from FedEx or DHL or UPS at the time.
Okay.
Right?
Because you have to, like, even FedEx has to advertise.
Yeah, so how do you incentivize through these campaigns decision makers at these large companies where their money is going to go? So it was just like, oh my gosh, you guys, I was such an expert in trinkets and trash. It's like, what are the things? It was like, if you ship this much, then you get a football helmet that has nacho chips and a sauce dip thing, right? Like that kind of stuff.
Bad for you.
What's so ridiculous is that people loved that stuff.
But the big thing was
they were junk, right?
Yeah, if you met a
I'm sure
certain
it's leaching chemicals into the nacho cheese
it would be
dipshit.
like
You're
you
dying.
get a football keychain, you get this like all these different like NFL fun things within their strategic partnership that they had built out. So we'd,
so those
to get
go to the
approval
decision
on-
makers.
you had to get like our producers were amazing at finding these trinkets.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to get the approval from the league to make sure it was okay. And then the FedEx branded, co-branded stuff. But I mean, year over year, we were seeing an increase of like $7 million based on these test accounts. And so we started going digital. So the moral of the story is,
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
So we did have very seasoned producers on these projects, but they didn't really want to touch this new scary world of internet,
That's kind of the way I
digital,
am these days. Yeah.
right?
Catch up, buddy.
So they had hired, I remember sitting in a room, there was this, there were two of us that were like basically, production manager or production assistants, traffic, whatever you want to call that role back then. They sat us both down and they said, we're hiring somebody to come in. She was very seasoned to run just the digital side. And will one of you kind of volunteer? Like
Do either of you want this?
Want to be the assistant to her? And I was like, me, want it. I went to Barnes & Noble and I bought like the Idiot's Guide to HTML, straight up the yellow book. Because I'm like, I need to learn the language.
Was it the Idiot's Guide or was it?
It was like literally the Idiot's Guide to HTML. It was a yellow book.
There was another one that was for idiots.
There's so many
for dummies.
For dummies.
Yeah.
So many things. Yeah. And I was just like drinking from a fire hose and trying to learn about that world. And then we literally brought in a ragtag team of freelancers to get it started to like build this thing out.
What did you build out?
We had to build out that websitelet
Yeah.
and the entire back end analytics to be able, like very complex, to be able to digitally and not manually, because what we were doing was getting the reports of how much people were shipping, and we were manually tracking it on the print side. We had to build out a digital analytics effort on the back end side.
Yeah.
So it was me drinking from a fire hose, learning about not only sports marketing, but really learning about digital and innovation. 3 months in, the woman I was reporting to couldn't do it. Like she couldn't wrap her head around it.
Right.
So she'd quit. And I was just thrown in. I had a really great meeting. Sheila Harris was the COO, I think, at the time. I don't know what her role is, but I think it was like a COO. Sat me down and she was like, you seem to be catching on to this. Can you do it? Like, can you be the head of production for the digital side?
Okay, so then...
And I'm 20 at this time, so I started when I was 19. So I was like I was pregnant with my daughter, Sydney, at the time. I was 21. I was almost 22 years old. And all of a sudden, I was the producer.
Manager.
They hired a head of interactive, Robert Koski, super, super smart guy. And he kind of took me under his wing. And we were both kind of drinking from a fire hose on it, but he was way smarter than me. And we ran that entire division.
So because of the show, right? Because of the name of the show. Somewhere there was a meeting in an office, and one of those people was like, "Oh, you guys, all right. But what about this idea?
Yeah.
What if we let Rebecca?" And everyone's like, "Ooh, 21."
I don't think they thought it was that important, right?
I
at the time, they didn't realize the impact. I mean,
of what it was going to build. Eventually, it became all digital.
Yeah.
And then I was on a walk.
And she kept it up.
I was on a walk with Dave Samela, who was one of our programmers, and we ran into Billy Jurowitz, who's the founder of Space 150. He had just started Space 150. We ran into him in the street, and we were chatting. And afterwards, Dave came to my office and said, "Hey, Billy was really impressed with you and would like to have a meeting." So I had a meeting with Billy, and I don't know if you know Billy he's the founder of Space 150. He's wild. He's
no idea.
So cool. But he was like, he was just like, I was like, let's go, fuckers, right? Like he's like that guy. I swear on your show.
Oh no,
But he's
it's
that guy.
totally acceptable. Yeah.
And we had a meeting, and he was like, I'm doing something new. I'm doing an all digital agency, and no one's doing this right now because web had gone up and then it had crashed. Like a
Right.
big crash had happened, but
Yeah.
he really believed it was the future. And he was like, I would love for you to come and help us on project management, process, protocol. I mean, I was in a very established, secure job, had a very
Right
young
at
child
FedEx.
at home.
Yeah.
I mean, FedEx was our client. Sherman-Williams was a client. Like we had great clients.
Gotcha. It wasn't FedEx, but you were in a spot
At
where
Henleywood, I was like, I
you
could
were
have stayed
safe.
there.
Safe,
But
safe.
The thing that he told me that literally resonated with me was, okay, for 4 years, you've been basically working on the same campaigns. Do you want to,
broaden your horizons.
do you want to just do this? Or like, do you want to like take a big risk and like come do some epic shit? And I was like, I want to do
epic shit.
I want to do epic shit. Yeah, so I went over to Space 150. We were in the basement of the Colonial Warehouse on like these army desks and like folding chairs, like with egress windows.
Yeah.
It was maybe 10 of us. And I stayed with them for a few years and just like, I mean.
Did you do epic shit?
Yes.
I was going to ask the same question.
Oh, we worked on projects for the NBA, for the Timberwolves and Lynx. I ended up doing project management, account management. I was producing video shoots, photo shoots, traveling, in pitches with clients. Talk about drinking from a fire hose. I was just like all in, and with some of the
Well,
smartest
you were young
people.
and you had energy, but you also had a child.
But I also was a single mom with a little baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you, though.
So
How old's that baby now?
24.
24.
Yeah, going on.
Got to watch mom be totally badass from
Oh.
a young age.
She has been in the biggest rooms, and we talk about it all the time, even because I raised my kids around a lot of celebrities.
Now you said kids.
My son is 18.
Okay.
My daughter's 24. And they've been in some pretty big rooms, some pretty big parties and events globally. And what it has built was neither of them really fall into any type of idolatry. Like they don't really care
Right.
about meeting certain people and
Once you've met, I mean,
You're like, they're human.
And
they're just
I've-
human.
and
Like
I've-
once you've met people,
and I've
who-
created some pretty strong barriers and boundaries with my kids around. One of my favorite funny little stories of Sydney, when I think she was like 4 years old. I was when I left Space 150, I freelanced for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were one of our clients. I worked on really cool projects at Space. I learned a lot. Was freelancing for the Timberwolves. Was raising my
yeah.
daughter, and then eventually
Eventually
had my
your son.
son when
Yeah.
she was about 6. But I was working underneath David Sherman in the NBA photo team at the Timberwolves as a producer, and we had his little office, dark room, was right next to the players' locker room in behind the scenes in the tunnels or whatever of Target Center. And my kids would come with me. And when Sydney was really little, she would come with me. And they do this yearbook every year. It's like a printed thing, and you get autographs on it. And
Yep.
it's like ads and whatnot.
Oh, cute, yeah.
So she had her little yearbook, and one of my favorite stories is Randy Foy. This was pre-game, and so the guys are all out in the hallway stretching and kind of getting ready to go run through the tunnel. And she's sitting in the dark room on this like really high top stool, and I'm just like getting all the SD cards cleared and ready, making sure that everything that David Sherman, who's a team photographer, that everything was buttoned up for him.
Yep.
And Randy Foy walks in and said, "Oh, do you want me to sign your yearbook?" And she goes, "I don't do autographs, but thanks." In front of all the other guys who just lost their minds laughing. Like, this little kid just told you, get out of here.
Like, no.
bro.
Like-
I don't do
like
that.
I don't know
she
you.
thought-
I don't like you.
She thought that he wanted her to sign his.
No.
Oh.
My children were both raised where they're
Oh,
never
I'm
allowed
sorry.
to ask for a picture,
Gotcha.
to ask for an autograph. Like, we don't do that because this is mommy's work.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's
We're not
super cute.
fans. You're here. You're an extension of me. And I even tell my kids now, like, if I bring Roman to a Call of Duty event, I'm like, listen, just remember, like, you're an extension of me. You're an extension of my brand. When people see you, they think of me. So if you're going to be having passes or being in a suite and around different
act like an
celebrities,
idiot.
have some.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Just be respectful and like,
We don't need to do that.
don't need to be weird about the whole thing.
Coming from a girl who just like asked Joe Mauer for a picture the other night, but whatever.
Okay,
That's
whatever.
so cute, though. You can do
That's
that when you're
different.
in that place.
But yeah, that's like, it's like being in those spaces for my children. I just really want them to understand, like, these are normal people. And it was when I was working really closely with Ricky Rubio's team, there were times that I needed to go to his house and drop something off or be there. And my kids would sit in the car and be like on their little whatever devices. And
Leapfrog.
I'm like, we'd park and I'm like, I'm going to go up there. Can we just sit in the car? I'm like, how many kids
Right,
would die
exactly.
to go to Ricky
I don't-
Rubio's condo? But my kids were like, we're good. Our little phone and our whatever. Our little
Whatever.
iPad.
That's more the true
Yeah.
nature of kids, actually. If
It
you don't,
is.
if you don't build the other person up for them, that's more their true nature. Like, you know what, dude? You're just another big, like, you're really tall and everything, but you're just another adult.
not a big
I don't know
person.
you.
I
It
don't
is
know.
absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I think that's an aspect of what has helped me in my career is that I'm very unaffected by that type of
Celebrity.
status. Like,
I got to say, since you brought it up and it's on the thing, Joe is on a list of mine that exists that he has no business being on. It's not his fault in any way, but he's one of the people who someone gave me a connection to someone who said, like, oh, you want him to come on your show? Maybe he could come on your show and whatever. And
Yeah.
I never heard back. So he's on the list, like naughty dudes list who does, you never got back to me. Like he fucking cares. Like it matters.
I think he
He's
probably
out
has
there
some,
fretting right now
He's got some things
about
happening.
not being on the What About
That's
This
why
Idea
I
show.
love it's
probably in
my
a
shit list.
spam box.
That's right.
But it's like completely and utterly absurd. Like, of course these people never got back to me. Like, George Bush didn't get back to me. F you, George.
Hey, you might want to talk about his painting career. George Bush.
Oh man.
I know.
I
he
reached out-
just, what did he do? Like some kind of psychedelic or something and suddenly become an artist?
Really?
No, I don't really think he did
have.
the
Like
psychedelic
DMT or
part.
something?
I think he just discovered he was an artist after he kind of became a recluse after he was president.
Maybe.
I think, oh God, in hindsight, like he was a more normal, decent guy than we gave him a lot of
hindsight.
credit for.
He may have gotten thrust into something it wasn't
He
quite
may have
ready
gotten
for.
thrust into something, yes. May have.
That's right.
may
Okay.
have.
Confusing world. right?
Anyways.
So what are your
Anyway.
kids doing now? So your 18-year-old is a senior?
No. Well, it's yes, but he's been doing PSEO. He's in his second year of PSEO.
Yeah, he just
So
wants to do
he's
it on
not
his
in
own.
a traditional classroom. He's
I
at
tried to convince my kids to do that, and they were like,
so smart.
no. I'm like, you get
It's
you
the
get to go to
smartest
college
thing.
for 2 years paid.
for free. So he's in his second year at Dakota County Technical College.
Okay.
He moved out last year. So
Moved
he's
out.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Scary.
You are Minnesotan. I heard
So he
it.
lives on his own. He has some roommates. He lives kind of by St. Thomas and St. Paul.
Oh,
Awesome.
He just found a new coffee shop. I'll give them a little plug. It's called Black. It's in St. Paul, and I guess it's like the greatest little coffee shop over by St. Thomas University.
Sounds great.
Loves it there. And yeah, so he goes to Northfield, and he's doing auto mechanics and auto body repair. An interesting
Smart.
thing about Roman is the night that George Floyd was killed, we were living in White Bear Lake. Obviously, the pandemic was going on. He was 14 years old. George Floyd was killed. And sorry, Roman, for sharing this story if you see this, but hopefully you're fine with it. But he came,
be the only 18-year-old ever.
downstairs. He came downstairs and was just really out of sorts and said, was crying. And I said, what's going on? And I mean, we lived right on White Bear Lake by Kowalski's. They had boarded up the windows and closed the store early. The Target in Maplewood had got looted. Like there was a lot of crazy things going on.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, when you're a child at 14 and you're consuming social media and you're watching the news,
Right.
like really everything feels like it is completely in your backyard. And he said, he was crying. He said, Mom, I feel like God has forgotten about us.
Oh.
And he goes, not just us, but like the whole world. And I was like, oh my God, my mother heart just like was breaking. And I said, do you want to lay with me? And he said, yeah. And that little boy he slept in my room for like 30 days. And I had taken our sunroom. I sold the furniture from the sunroom and put 2 desks in
Was
there.
he distance learning at the time too?
Well, there was no school.
Yeah.
There was no school.
Yeah,
They had basically,
I'm putting myself back here.
they couldn't figure out distance learning quite yet.
Yeah.
They were basically just home. And I'm pretty sure Roman and I both had COVID without knowing it in February because I had done CES in Vegas the end of January, and we were both sick almost the entire month of February, and we kept getting tested for things, and everything was coming up negative, like influenza A, like all these things, like they couldn't figure out what we had, but like our bones were achy, we were sick, I had like 3 days where I'm like, I can't even get out of bed. It was really bad.
I know other people who traveled before it was officially.
Yeah, I think
CES is the largest conference in Vegas, and it's a global conference. So there's a lot of international people there. So it made sense that maybe was what we had. So he hadn't even been to school for a month before they closed down school.
Right.
Because we were both so
14,
sick.
that's super tough. It's like right around the same age as my eldest boy.
You're trying to figure yourself out, like all these things, you know?
And the world is turned upside down, honestly.
And so I kind of watched him like a hawk for quite a few months, and we would get up, we were on a pretty solid routine, and we shared a little office together, home office. They started doing like the online hybrid thing towards the end of the year. And he was just getting more and more depressed. And I said,
my boy was too.
Yeah, I said, what? Yeah. I said, Roman, what puts that fire in your belly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you want to do? Like, how do you want to spend your day? Because we can get all this stuff done by 10 a.m. How do you want to spend your day?
Right.
Yeah.
My work went whoop because of esports and gaming.
Yes.
His world kind of went to a halt.
Yeah.
So it was skateboarding. He really wanted to get better at skateboarding. Okay. And then he really wanted to learn more about cars. His grandfather on his dad's side had just bought his the same model of like a college vehicle, and then had completely redone it. And
like he had in college, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't remember what it was or anything, but he had done that, and Roman was feeling pretty excited about, his grandpa or his Jaja with this classic car.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm like, let me talk to your dad, and we'll match, if your dad's cool with it, we can match what you have. And you have to have at least this much in your savings account.
Yep.
But then we can work together and we'll get you a project car. So I talked to his dad, and we decided that was the way to go. Since then, my son has flipped 11, 12, 13 cars,
awesome.
like a ton of cars. Mazda RX-7s, Datsuns, BMWs, Mark IIs.
When you say flipped?
Like he'll buy a car. His first one was a Mazda RX-7. He bought a car. He put maybe $500 into it, and then he sold it.
I did
on
this
Facebook
in high
Marketplace.
School. Yeah.
And then he just kept doing it, and started drift racing.
Like
I got him a simulator for
Okay.
Christmas when he was 15. So he learned how to drive manual at 15 with a racing sim. And then from there, when he turned 16, easily got his driver's license because had been driving for so long, and then started doing drift racing.
Oh boy. Legally?
Yeah, through tournaments and stuff. They go up in there's a racetrack in Fargo. There's some stuff down south. Yeah. They do these big on the ice, these winter drift racing where you're on a lake on
Fun.
the ice, and he loves that. And
this really created a trajectory for him.
It sparked his love of cars.
Fun.
Yeah, and he's not sure if that's what he wants to do for a career.
He's young. He doesn't have to decide.
But he wants to know those skills. He's learning to weld. He's learning about auto body. He's learning about the mechanics. He's been a lube tech. He was manager at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And, he just turned 18 in the end of September. But he's just got a really good head on his shoulders. So that's my youngest. My daughter, who's 24, she has an extremely rare blood disorder. So when COVID happened, it's called C2. She's one of
You asked.
Well, someone, I mean,
whatever that is.
well, I did ask because my whole family's medical, and I hear all the medical terms all the time, and I know like,
it's an extremely rare blood disease.
Yeah.
So she was born with, she has a genetic mutation. She was born without the C2 protein in her blood, and your C2 and your C3 clean out the garbage. They're like the janitors of your bloodstream. Because the C3 is the main one. The C2 is what, if you're sick with, like, say you have an infection or a virus, C3 is like overload, call in C2.
Right.
She doesn't have it. So that has triggered autoimmune diseases. So when she was 8, she was like very lethargic and kept saying things like, so hard to lift my head. I'm like, what are you talking about? And wanting to go to bed early. And then she would say things like weird things that an 8-year-old shouldn't say, like, I'm just so tired from having to breathe. And I was like, what in the heck? Who thinks about breathing?
an 8-year-old right now. They can be weird and dramatic, but that would cause concerns.
So hard to breathe.
And then I had like maybe 4 days before having to take her to the hospital. I remember she would get out of the bath and I would comb her hair and it was just like clumps of hair were coming out. And I was like, this doesn't seem very normal. And then I woke up to her screaming at 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and every single finger except for her left ring finger was purple, swollen, and like almost like weirdly shaped.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world? So her doctor's at the University of Minnesota. I called their clinic. They opened it like 7 a.m. So I was waiting and I called. They said, get her here right away. They ran a bunch of labs. They transferred her to Masonic. It took 2 of the most grueling weeks of our lives because the C markers are also the markers that indicate whether or not you have leukemia or lymphoma.
Okay, sure.
So I was like having a total panic thinking my daughter has cancer. I don't know if either one would have been better, but we found out 2 weeks later. They sent all of our labs out to this clinic in Denver that has the largest centrifuge in America that is very high tech. And so based on her being sick, when COVID hit, she was working retail and she could not risk it.
I have questions about the illness itself. Is there any, are there then treatments for it that are effective?
So she was when she was first diagnosed, they did 6 months of methotrexate, which is really horrific. And hydroxychloroquine every day. For her whole entire life, she's been on hydroxychloroquine since she was 8. And then when COVID hit and she was like kind of laxing, she had been on her own. So her and her boyfriend at the time were on their own and she wasn't really keeping up with her meds and going to appointments as much. So so she was moved back home, was doing full-time content creation.
Okay.
So she's on TikTok. She's extremely well known on TikTok.
Really?
She's like 180,000 followers. She's had videos up to 33 million views. She's been on SportsCenter and ESPN. Both of my kids are skateboarders, so she's a lot of skating content. She's just is.
I love it.
Get ready with me, cutie,
get ready with me.
whatever.
I'll get ready with her.
But she's very much like this tiny little skater girl. She's not trying to be a Kardashian-looking type of a female.
Yep.
So she was just kind of leaning in on that, which was great during COVID. And then, a year and a half ago, she had just a huge lupus flare and was hospitalized at M Health Fairview for 3 months. Praise the Lord for M Health Fairview for saving her life. She only had a 30% chance of making it through the night, the first night she was there. They did a bone marrow, tested her bone marrow to make sure that it was producing what it needed to. They did a biopsy on both of her kidneys. They were failing. She has interstitial lung disease from her lupus. I mean, it was just so much stuff that she was going through. So she's basically a full-time content creator. She flips couches on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, really? I was looking for a couch not too long ago.
Can she get me another blue chair?
She might be able to find one. Anyways.
I really hate Facebook Marketplace because
I do too, because
there's
people
all these scammers on there.
Oh, I know. And I I have a gaming chair.
My son wanted a couch for our basement because I had a strategy that if I just like sold the couch I didn't like, that would make me get another couch.
Okay.
But then I never did because my kids aren't there
that's right. I
anymore.
heard about
Right.
this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
now my son is home for the next month.
I'm wanting
and
he
he's
needs
like,
one.
I need a couch. And I'm
right,
like,
well,
well, go on
I'll send you a
Facebook
link.
Marketplace.
Can we take a break so I can pee?
No.
It's a perfect time.
I have a really old bladder.
Yeah. Don't cry. It's over.
Oh, you did it. You made it to the very end of the show. You know what you can do to help us? What can they do to help us? They can tell their friends how awesome this show is.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
You know what else? And I don't know if people know this or don't know this, but like if you found us and you see us on socials somewhere, just hit repost or share it with your community.
Share, repost, follow. Isn't there a follow option?
Yeah,
of some
follow,
kind?
subscribe. We're not going to charge you anything.
No.
Just hit the subscribe button.
No,
It's
we
not gonna
just
hurt
need
you.
to create a community around entrepreneurism and how the real shit happens.
I like it. Well, because we're real. You said it in the intro.
Real.
We talk real. No, seriously, tell your friends. What a great show. Oh my gosh, these people are doing the best work ever. Yeah, right?
That's what you should say.
Yeah.
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 And just come back. Have fun with us. We love this.
We'll have someone, we'll interview someone cool next week too.
Someone completely different.
Yeah, from prison. Thanks.
We always have to have that.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.